In this video, I'm going to give you some tips about how to use a color wheel to make your painting better.
Warning, Uncle Adam is not a professional. He's usually not even very good. Try any and all of Uncle Adam's pro tips at your own risk. Void where prohibited. Uncle Adam is not actually an uncle.
Recently, one of you lovely people asked me about a color wheel and how that helps in miniature painting. And I thought I've been using one on and off for years, and I know I've seen Sam use one before as well. He's got one in his painting kit that he carries around. It's something that painters have a tendency to use, and a lot of people don't necessarily understand why. So I want to do some quick tips and explain what usefulness comes from a color wheel. So that's a color wheel right there. It's all the colors in the rainbow, as it were, which the rainbow is the Roy G. Biv, which is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, aka purple. And the color wheel shows how they're in relation to each other. They're not just a straight line. They actually go around to make a loop within the color spectrum. If you've seen a rainbow in the sky or light through one of those little pieces of glass, you've seen rainbow before, and that's what white light happened. That's what happens to white light when it gets split apart by a prism. That's how it works. So how does this help you when you're trying to paint little people? Color wheels are used really mainly in three ways. You'd reference a color wheel, firstly, when you want to find a complementary color. Complementary colors are colors that are opposite from each other. Of the big primary and secondary colors, the opposites are blue and orange, red and green, and purple/violet, and yellow. What happens with those complementary colors is they have a tendency to kind of like accentuate their opposite. So if you go to the grocery store and you're going to buy some strawberries or some raspberries, more often than not, you're going to find them in some sort of green container because that's the opposite color, and the green container makes the red berries pop and they look more red and you want to buy them. That's science, stuff I learned in college. But the fact of the matter is that when you're trying to figure out, if you're painting an Imperial Fist, their armor is mostly kind of yellowish, and you've decided you want to do some sort of interesting shadows, you might think about adding some purple to those shadows because it's going to give a bit of a difference to the look. It's going to potentially accentuate the yellow and make it pop even a little bit more. And you figure out what the opposite colors are. You can memorize them, but sometimes it's also nice to know like what some of the subcolors opposites are when you're in that situation. So the color wheel works perfectly for that. Another use is to find analogous colors. Now, analogous colors are basically colors that are right next to the color that you're trying to sort of highlight. If you've got this specific color, maybe it's red-orange, you need to look at the two other colors on each side of it and use those colors potentially in the thing you're painting to make that red-orange in his sword or in her magical staff or whatever, make that pop. But you don't want to go completely to the opposite end with the complementary colors. Analogous colors can really help you to sort of figure out, well, how should I paint this? What's this going to do? What colors am I going to find that are close to this and will help to accentuate it but not go crazy? That's what they do. The last thing that I ever use for a color wheel, and I don't use this too frequently in miniature painting, but sometimes I do, is to look for something known as triads. Triads are basically, if you take a look at the color wheel and you make kind of like a triangle on there, if this is one year color and you pick this one and this one, it will then show you, okay, these are colors that kind of have a little bit of harmony with each other to some degree. They go okay together. Again, like I said, it's not something that I use the color wheel a ton for, but there is some science to it, and it has something to do with wavelengths of light and things like that. But if you're looking for colors and you want to try to figure some stuff out, you could use that triad system to say, well, if I go with this color, and this color, maybe that'll be a good look for me, as opposed to sometimes you pick colors that just look terrible together. They're probably not in a triad. If you want to take a look at, a color wheel, obviously you just go online, type in color wheel, and you're going to find tons and tons and tons of them that you can use. But Adobe has something called, I think it's just pronounced color, although it's not spelled that way. It's spelled with a K and a U and a bunch of other. But you can look at that website as well and see a lot of different things as far as like how to pick specific colors and do things and figure stuff out. And you can come up with palettes sometimes that are going to be helpful for you and your painting when you're working on your models. So take a look at the color wheel, try to figure out, maybe is this something that you could use to slip into your painting kit? maybe you find one online, you print it out. I mean, not if you have a black and white printer. That's not going to work. But you could maybe, color printer, or like I said, just bring it up on your laptop or even your phone when you need to reference it. You don't have to have it all the time, put it on your wall, but there are times when having a color wheel is pretty useful.